And this session is called The Divine Blueprint of Revelatory Knowledge, the Unfolding of the Divine Enfolded Wisdom Within. So we all, at one point, if you were on the call, you were made familiar with what is called the Akashic Record. And if not, we're going to go over it briefly here and connect it in with what we're doing today. What is the Akashic Record? Akasha is a Sanskrit word meaning sky, space, or ether. It means sky, space, or ether. In the Sanskrit and Indian cultures, Akasha is an all-encompassing medium that underlies all things and becomes all things. It is real, but so subtle that it cannot be perceived until it becomes the many things that populate the manifest world. So Akasha is unfolded into the manifested world, and it is all things in the manifested world. Akasha is not empty space, it is ether. Ether is a subtle dimension of existence. Without Akasha or ether, you cannot live for a moment. Moving on, the term Akashic Records simply refers to the limitless, receptive, that means absorbent rather, conductive and repository capabilities and qualities of melanin. So when we're talking about Akasha, we're talking about melanin. When we're talking about in terms of the Akashic Record, we are talking about the ability, capabilities, and qualities of melanin or its powers. All right. In theosophy and anthropophagy, the Akashic Records are a compendium, listen, of all human events, thoughts, words, emotions, and intent ever to have occurred in the past, present, or future. That means it is all knowledge, all wisdom, all revelatory knowledge is contained in the Akashic Record. All right. So when we talk about the unfolding of the enfolded knowledge within, we are talking about accessing the Akashic Record. This is going to be, to start out, a how-to session of that process, because we all need to do this and we all need to understand this. First and foremost, we must understand, as the ancient Kemetans or the Egyptians understood, that what? I am the keeper of my Akashic Records. In other words, we all have access personally to the Akashic Records. All of that information, that limitless information, is contained within each of us. And this is again what we need to emphasize. All of which is and which shall be. Eternity it is, and everlastingness. On three paths and two pillars, open your portals. So here it is. Assessing the Akashic Record, unfolding the enfolded revelatory knowledge within. assessing the Akashic Record, unfolding the enfolded revelatory knowledge within. In the diagram, we see the enfolded reality up top, represented by ABC, a unified, singular conception. It corresponds to the attractor pattern. Below that, these three arrows or three paths represent what's called the operants, the unfolding of the enfolded ABC into the material world. So ABC, the unified, singular, holistic concept or idea or thought, unfolds and becomes A, causes B, causes C, the observable event. So, family, the revelatory knowledge will always come whole. All right? Think of a seed. A seed is whole and holistic. But when we think about the unfolding of a seed, Nasi, it first unfolds as the roots, then the stem, then the leaves, then the trunk, then the branches, then the fruit. And the fruit contains what? More seeds.
Right.
All of that is enfolded in the idea, the concept of seed. And so revelatory knowledge, when received, comes as a seed. And I see you explained the other day that it has to do what? Germinate.
Right.
You receive it as a whole concept. And
Right.
then it germinates and then it unfolds for you, right?
Right.
And then it becomes something that you can teach what? Step by step by step by step. It becomes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so forth.
How you know that it's all going to continue to connect and make sense.
That's correct. Why? Because it's going to tie in to what? One holistic idea.
Right.
One holistic idea. ABC. One holistic idea. All right? That is the way that everything is packaged in the Akashic Record. Past, present, future, all is all one concept. But it unfolds to us separately. Is everybody with me?
Hey.
So here's the instructional part, where you see in the middle the operants that represents your intent or intention that activates revelatory knowledge within the unfolded realm, where attention goes, energy flows. So if there's something that you want to know about, you focus your attention on that. And it is not outside of yourself, it is inside of yourself. You focus the attention inwardly and ask yourself the question, We on the same page, Amaria?
Aim.
So thus, intent and attention are what the Bible refers to as a word or a question spoken in due season. Let me tell you all, the reason I'm teaching you this, it is due season. It is the season for you all to go inside and pull this knowledge down from heaven, from the heavenlies, from your higher self or higher consciousness. Now, see, it's the time.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the time. The time for us to be in front of people teaching like that is coming to a close. It is due season that we all begin to access this knowledge within. Amaria, these are your Akashic records. Family, each of you has the ability to access your Akashic records. All right? It is due season. This is why we're getting this word now. The ABC, which corresponds to the attractor pattern, represents revelatory knowledge that exists in the enfolded Akashic, etheric, heavenly realm. It is your higher self or your higher consciousness that is being referred to here. The A to B to C, or the observable event, represents revelatory knowledge as it exists in the unfolded realm as a conscious or personal revelation. Makes sense?
Yeah.
So I'm explaining to you, when we get on here and we say we have a revelation, this is how it comes. And it comes to us in a seed. Now, see, it might be just one word
Absolutely right.
or one concept, and
That's how it starts, right?
but then it must take root or must be sown in good soil, where it what? Dies and then begins to what? Unfold. That's what Nasik was talking about. He had to meditate on it. It had to germinate. It had to enter into good soil, into his soul, or into my soul, or into your soul, and do what? Die, and then come alive, germinate, and start to what? Unfold. Makes sense?
Yeah.
It's a very simple concept and a very simple process. Now, we've used the symbol of the seed. Let us holistically conceptualize this symbol of the seed. In the scriptures, it of course is called the seed. It is also, especially in the so-called New Testament, referred to as a corn of wheat or wheat. Corn means, this simply means kernel or seed of wheat. This seed equals revelatory knowledge. I want us to keep that in mind. What I'm doing is giving you the blueprint, the code to the scriptures. And so wherever you see seed, or most places, you will be able to what? Understand it in terms of revelatory knowledge. when you see, especially in all occasions in the so-called New Testament, this phrase, corn of wheat, it is always referring to revelatory knowledge. All right? So you can be safe and be confident in decoding it as such. John 12:24, verily, verily, I say unto you, except a corn of wheat seed fall into the ground and die, that is sleep. We're going to introduce a new term, sleep in the earth. Sleep in the earth. It abideth alone. Now see, it remains separate and dualistic. But if it die, if it germinates in good soil, or if it sleeps, introducing a new term, it bringeth forth much fruit. Sleep is just a metaphor for death in the scriptures.
Right.
And it is a metaphor. Every time we go to sleep at night, we metaphorically die. And this is the time, Nasi, that seeds germinate. This is why I said I woke up and it became unfolded. And it took to such an extent, I could write it down, what? Perfectly in the unfolded state, as it unfolded to me.
Right.
Isn't that what happens, Nasi?
Exactly what happened.
It's exactly what happens. And why night? Why night when you go to sleep? Because it's all related to melanin. Melanin becomes active at night.
Absolutely.
In other words, the Akashic Records, now we're understanding the seasons. Everything has its seasons. So if you have a question, you make a wish, what? Or a request upon a star. That is the internal melanin. You want to do it at night, or not necessarily at night, even when you take a nap. That is why, now see, when someone asks you a question, people have a habit of saying, let me sleep on it.
Yeah.
But it's best at night because it is said that the melanin, Dr. Puka out of Detroit says this, that the melanin hits its peak at about 12 midnight. It starts at 10 and it desists at 2.
Right.
But you have to be in a completely dark area. Can't be no light.
No, well, let me correct that a little bit. All right. It just has to do with you going to sleep. You understand, we are in different time zones down here. So it is no perfect time. Nasik is on in one time zone, right? If you go somewhere else, so we have to understand this, not in terms of time, because the Akashic Record does not exist in time. Are you with me? It does not exist in the material stage. There is no time zones. There is no time. So let me emphasize it again. Whenever you go to sleep, you can access the Akashic Record. The reason I'm telling you is that sometimes when something is heavy on you and your consciousness, your higher consciousness wants you to access the Akashic Record, you will get sleepy. And it don't matter what time it is, you will get sleepy. Ask that question and that is prime time for you. That is prime time for you. There is no set time on the clock. Whenever you go to sleep, melanin is activated. Everybody on here is on different eternal internal clocks. When you travel to Israel, you're gonna cross different so-called time zones, and you're gonna have to adjust because of what? Jet lag. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm going to emphasize it again. Whenever you go to sleep, that is prime time for you're sleepy because your melanin is being activated. Do we understand?
Clear.
All right.
Yes.
I know people teach that, but it's being taught from a certain perspective. We have to know that any time that we are sleepy, that melanin can be activated. It can be activated. It's not one certain time. Matthew 4, verses 26 through 29. If you have a pencil or a pen, please write down these scripture passages as I give them to you, because this is how this unfolded. All right.
Matthew what?
Matthew chapter 4, 26 through 29.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Amaria, people can put themselves into what's called trance-like or sleep-like states. All right.
That's right. That's
By
right.
like, and we'll have the ability to do that, to be able to go to, seems like we fallen asleep right in front of you. That means going into a trance, accessing that Akashic record, and then coming back with the answer. You can do that anytime you want to. We have this ability. So Matthew 4, 26 through 29 reads on this wise. And
Can I ask you a question before you go into that?
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, brother.
With regards to the Akashic Record, is it possible that the Akashic Record can be corrupt?
Absolutely not.
That's what
Only our perception, now see, only our perception can be corrupt. And corrupt meaning dualistic. That is the flaw.
That's the flaw. That's the only flaw.
Matthew 20, excellent question though, Aki, excellent question. And he said, so is the kingdom of God, as if a man cast a seed. Now remember, the seed is enfolded revelatory knowledge into the ground. The ground represents the inner melanated parts of the human. The seed represents enfolded revelatory knowledge. Now we're saying enfolded revelatory knowledge, now see, in this case, but the seed can be anything. But I'm teaching on this enfolded revelatory knowledge. Are you all with me?
Mm-hmm.
And what? Should sleep and rise night and day, and the seed should spring up and grow. That is, unfold. Does that make sense? This knowledge is going to spring up and grow or unfold, and he knoweth not how. Melanin is most active at night. Sleep is a type of death, that is germination process. Again, at night is a general term, but once you raise your consciousness level and once your abilities are maximized, you will be able to put yourself to sleep. It's called self-hypnosis or self-induced trance-like state. You will be able to modulate your vibratory frequency to the point of sleep. Are you all with me? Go into yourself, access the Akashic Record, and then come back out with the answer. For the earth, that is the activated human, because remember, humankind does not have the neuromelanin and cannot activate it. The activated human bringeth forth fruit of herself. First the blade, then the ear, after that the full corn of the ear. That means that that is the full unfolding of revelatory knowledge. Everybody all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That represents the full or complete unfolding of the revelatory knowledge. I'm telling you that this is what happened to me. And it was unfolded fully. Can everybody see this? It was unfolded in its fullness. So I was able, Nasi, to go inside and write it down.
Right.
Just that simple.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly how it happens.
Just that simple. So we want everybody to know again that you have this ability. But when the fruit is brought forth, listen, when the fruit is brought forth, when revelatory knowledge, okay, I got to mute somebody. But when the fruit is brought forth, that is, when revelatory knowledge is fully revealed, and fully comprehended. In other words, you possess the fruit. Now, see, you've picked the fruit off the tree. Then what? Immediately, I want you all to understand this. I'm going to underscore it. Immediately, he putteth in the sickle, acts on it in the KNOW. You must act on it in the now. So we should all, when we go to sleep, have what? Pencil and pen by the bed. Right?
Yeah.
And
Shalom,
wake up, huh?
You have that as Matthew 4, but that's actually Mark 4.
Is that Mark 4?
Okay.
Okay.
There's no Matthew 4:26. It's
Okay.
it's Mark.
It's Mark 4:26. Toda. See, I didn't quite act on that right away. Y'all see what happens? That knowledge gets corrupted. Toda.
Now, there are times when those those visions, if you will, they have to be interpreted. You have to think about them for a minute, don't you think?
Well, that's exactly what we're talking about. They have to germinate. They have to germinate. This is the process that we're talking about. And when it's fully conceived, in other words, when the fruit is brought forth, that means when revelatory knowledge is fully revealed, fully comprehended, and you possess it, immediately put in the sickle, act on it in the now, because the harvest is come.
Okay, so the operative word then is revelatory.
Correct. So do we get it?
Okay.
That explains it.
That
That
explains
explains it. And again, it's simple. It's simple. But we have to, again, know our symbols. And once we know them, then this is how the scriptures speak to us. All right? But I'm giving you in Mark and Toda sister, Mark 4:26 through 29, that gives us the process, the overall process of how to what? Access this Akashic record. Next step, intuitively, that is properly, accurately conceptualizing the seed of the serpent and the seed of the woman. Now, the seed now is not revelatory knowledge. The seed is referring to the offspring of the serpent and the offspring of the woman. But the revelation or the decoding process of that symbol is going to be the same thing. It's going to follow the same process. Did I lose anybody? So, going back now, and I will put enmity between thee, that is the serpent, and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. The word enmity is hatred and hostility.
Right.
Now, what we want to understand here is hatred and hostility goes both ways. The enmity goes both ways. It is a holistic concept that we must get from this. Because in the past, and I'm going to give you the reason for it. In the past, in our religious or belief system conception of this, we thought that it was only a one-way action. The so-called devil, and we've had a completely wrong idea of what the devil is. The so-called devil working against us, and we just trying to do good. That is not how the ancestors work. If you read the Bible, that is not how God works. Prescient knowledge, knowledge of forethought, divine wisdom considers in a dualistic system, considers both sides. This whole narrative of the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent is likened to a chess game that one person is playing. Y'all got to, you got to get with me on this.
Yeah, that's the way it is.
Holism, Nasi, as it unfolds, is a game of solitary. It is me, my divine self, sitting at the chess table and playing both pieces, the white and the black.
Right, right.
But in the past, we have not had that holistic concept.
No.
It has already been revealed to us that in the predominantly allegorical narrative of the Bible, the serpent is none other than whom? I'm asking.
This dualistic element within everybody.
Now, the serpent talks about someone in the allegory.
Yeah, but the serpent and the what we call the good and evil both exist within everybody.
That's a good point, but that's not the question I'm asking at this point.
Oh, okay.
Within the allegory, I'm talking about the allegory. Let me read it again. It has been already revealed to us that in the predominantly allegorical narrative of the Bible, the serpent is none other than whom?
The feminine.
Yaakov.
There you go. Yaakov, Jacob.
Okay.
Y'all with me?
Yes.
Okay. The serpent is none other than Jacob, Yaakov, or Enki, Ea. We're talking about the narrative now, the allegory, the narrative of the allegory.
Okay.
All right? That is the big-headed genetic scientist, according to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the ancient Sumerian tale of Enki, Ninhursag, and Engidzita. And also, we're going to add another one, Khnum of the Egyptian account. This is very important. See, we switched from revelatory knowledge to the allegorical symbols. You all with me?
Okay.
So the allegorical symbols fit within the narrative. We breaking this thing down to its basics. We taking baby steps for everyone. Thus, the seed of the serpent would refer to the grafting or hybridization process that produce the aberrant or aberrant man, that is mankind or humankind. Everybody with me?
Yeah.
See, this is what we've been missing. And sometimes I make the mistake of thinking that we've gone over this, so necessarily people will remember. That's not the thing. We've been trained not to remember and not to make these connections. So we got to go step by step from a very fundamental base to arrive at what? One understanding. In 2 Thessalonians 2:3-5, it states, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except a falling away first, and the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition." So it's talking about something that is happening or that will happen at the end of time. And it is speaking, Nasik, in terms of something that they refer to as a man of sin and the son of perdition. We're going to clarify these terms. They say that this man of sin or son of perdition opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God. In other words, all that is called divine, or that is worshiped, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God. What is the temple of God?
You a temple.
Our body is the temple,
Right.
showing himself that he is God. Now, the typical understanding or interpretation of this verse is that the Antichrist would appear in history sometime, this man of sin or son of perdition, and go into the temple at Jerusalem that would be rebuilt and sit there showing himself to be God. Isn't that how it was interpreted?
That's how they interpreted, right.
But again, this is a false misconception, and we have to do away with it. This is why we're being careful. The temple of God is our own body. So we have to interpret our own what was sitting within ourselves, within our mind, as a concept of God. Didn't we all worship at one time?
Yes, sir.
Some of us still might be worshiping. Some of us still might be worshiping. Now see, but you pointed out this word avad, or what? Avodah,
Right.
which talks about what? Working for,
Right.
toiling for, serving,
right.
what? As a slave.
Yeah.
We must do away from that concept and understand that the divine in us cannot be supplanted by any other idea than our higher self, our higher consciousness. Remember not that when I was with you, I told you these things. See, even in the narrative, the writer is saying it's difficult for individuals to retain this idea or to retain this concept. Why? Because we've been entrained, we've been programmed not to think of ourselves as what? Divine, or in divine terms, or as a divinity. If we do not do this, this will just be confusion to us, and we will never rid ourselves of the dualistic mind, the dualistic idea, the dualistic concept, and can never tap into this power that is inherent within us, this knowledge that is inherent within us. Moving on, the seed of the serpent is referred to elsewhere, as we've just found out, in the allegory as the man of sin, the son of perdition. The Greek words translated as sin and perdition respectively, are harmatia. That is the word in Greek translated as sin. Harmatia. This is going to connect us up now, see? Harmatia doesn't talk about good and evil like that. Harmatia talks about someone that is without a share in something, or that will not participate in something. Are we clear? The man of sin represents a man to be without a share in something. I'm going to repeat it. The man of sin represents an individual or group of individuals that it is determined will be without a share in something. They will not share in something. Continuing on, Genesis 21:10. Cast out the bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir, that is, shall not have a share with whom? My son, even Isaac.
Yeah.
Is it making sense?
Yeah.
See, this is simple. When we follow the allegorical symbol, sin in Greek, harmatia, means to miss the mark. Look, now seek to err. That is the central word. Err is the central word of aberrate or aberrant. To be errant, that is to be aberrant. Also, to wander from the path. Now, see, this was necessary now, see, because we're going to go back and look at this Eber, the wandering Hebrew. We had to get this thing straight in our consciousness so that we can see in holistic terms. Is it making sense?
Okay.
So it means to sin means to wander from the path of what? Uprightness or righteousness.
Right.
It doesn't have anything to do with good and evil or morality like that. And here we go. It means to wander from the law of God. What is the law of God? The divine law is always going to be wholeness, unity, singularity, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Aberrant, again, means wandering from the usual course or differing somewhat from the group in which it is placed. And also, the son of the bondwoman, that is the seed of the serpent, the aberrant man or aberrant man, the hybrid. Will I make a nation? Because he is thy seed, that is, he's made in thy image after thy likeness. Now, in the past, we didn't have no idea of this genetic alchemical process that was done by our ancestors. And if that is the case, we would have no way of distinguishing. Again, that was the title. We would have no way of intuitively distinguishing between dominant gene types and traits and behavioral characteristics and recessive gene types, traits, and behavioral characteristics. As a matter of fact, we weren't even concerned with nothing like that.
No.
But it is through revelatory knowledge and the unfolding of revelatory knowledge that we can have this perspective, and that we can do what? Access this ability to see, to perceive with singularity, with wholeness, and in a holistic manner. And this is what we're doing. We're accessing that power. And now, like causes always produce like effects. So if you're making your request or asking the question with an idea of what? Holism, singularity, you anticipate that the answer is going to be holistic. And that is how it unfolds. And then, Nasi, you perceive it as such. You don't err. You don't miss the mark. You don't sin what? When perceiving it.
Right.
Makes sense to everyone. Like causes always produce like effects. This is how this revelatory knowledge comes. And this is a demonstration in real time of the revelatory knowledge. So when we go to Galatians, the 4th chapter, and again, write the references down. Galatians 4, 22 and 31. I see we always had this problem, even in Christian circles. When I taught in the church, you had some churches that say, "Oh no, don't go to that Old Testament.
Right.
Don't go to the Old Testament. That's only going to confuse you. That was under another covenant. That was
Right.
under another testament." And then you have the Hebrew Israelite group saying what? Most of them don't go to the New Testament.
That's the Greek.
That's the Greek. Now,
Yeah.
this is, that is the epitome of dualism.
Yeah.
And it shows the inability, both by Christians and Hebrews, to do what? Create a holistic concept. Out of what? Two apparent opposites. To create the miracle of the one thing. This is what was missing. Galatians 4, 22 through 31. For it is written that Abraham had two sons, the one by a bondmaid, the other by a free woman. What we need to do, we have to meditate on these scriptures, familiarize ourselves with them, and do an exercise of coming to a holistic thought. In other words, tracing, Nasi, these unfolded fragments back to the source. Tracing the unfolded revelatory knowledge back to the source. We have to get fluent in that. We have to master that. This is why,
in mastering that and understanding that, it gives you a verification as to the authenticity of, the knowledge or the revelation.
that is correct, Nasi.
Yeah.
Absolutely correct. For it is written, Abraham had two sons, the one of the bondmaid and the other of the free woman. We have to get these two things clear in our consciousness. But he who was of the bondwoman was born after the flesh. That is, he was created. He was created. He did not emanate. But he of the free woman of the promise. The promise is talking about an announcement or the pronouncement based on knowledge of forethought. Based on knowledge of forethought. Prescient knowledge of the divine ancestors in terms of how they would perform this alchemical ritual in real time. Which things, listen, are an allegory. We have to keep this in the forefront of our mind. And if it is an allegory, we have to have perfect understanding of the symbols. We must master the symbols. This is the thing that we've been saying from the beginning. We must master the symbols, because if not, we're going to err. We're going to miss the mark again. For these, here it is, Nasi, are the two covenants.
Right.
They are the two testaments. So in the past, again, Hebrews stayed in the Old Testament by and large and kept away from the New Testament. And the people in the church and other belief systems, what? Stayed in the New Testament and stayed away from the Old Testament.
Right.
But we don't understand that there are two people and two covenants, and therefore two testaments, two announcements to each of the people.
Right.
Didn't Esau seek a blessing? And
Yes, he did.
wasn't he given an announcement, a pronouncement?
He absolutely was.
Based on what? Divine knowledge of forethought. Didn't Cain, after he had killed Abel and was banished, was excommunicated, didn't he receive a blessing?
Yeah.
It was a mark that was put on him. But there's a different covenant. And we have to have access not to one or the other, but holistically to both. We have to incorporate those, which things are an allegory, for these are the two covenants, one from Mount Sinai that has to do with the man of sin, Sinai and Sinai, right? With the man of sin or the son of perdition, which does what? Gendereth bondage, which is Agar or Hagar. For this Agar is Mount Sinai in Arabia. Listen, family, and answereth to Jerusalem, which is now. Let me just ask y'all a question. Who is in control of Jerusalem now? Is it
The question again?
who is in control in Jerusalem now?
The Jewish people, the Jewish religious people.
The aberrant man, correct?
Correct, the aberrant man.
And is in bondage with her children. But Jerusalem which above is free, which is the mother of us all. That is talking about those that what? Are the seed of the woman, that were not created, but that what? Emanated into the material realms.
Galatians 4:4-1.
Shows it's Galatians 4:22-31. For it is written, rejoice thou barren that bearest not, break forth and cry, thou that travailest not, for the desolate hath many more children than she which hath a husband. Now we, brethren, as Isaac was, are the children of the promise, or the pronouncement, or knowledge aforethought. But as then he that is born after the flesh persecuted him that was born after the spirit, even so it is now. Can anybody attest to that besides Nasi?
But Eitai, as you move through here, at the end, I want myself and Amaria to bring something to the, to the family in respect to the due season that you talked about earlier.
All right.
The due season. Okay, go ahead, continue.
Okay. Nevertheless, what saith the scripture? Cast out the bondwoman and her son, for the son of the bondwoman shall not be heir with the son of the free woman. Again, shall not be heir, shall not share with us. That is the term for sin, harmatia, the one that will be without a share in. So then, brethren, we are not the children of the bondwoman, but children of the free.
I love that. And with that, my friends, I am leaving. I'm going to the airport right now.
All right.
And that was a good note to leave on. Shalom, shalom. Wholeness to everyone.
Hey, Amaria.
Hey.
I promise I won't call you a wandering Hebrew.
I appreciate it, my brother.
Have a good night, brother. So this word perdition is the word apalaya. Apalaya.
Apalaya.
Apalaya. And it means now this is going to really take this to another level. It means destroying or utter destruction of vessels. Vessels. All right? So I'm going to sneak forward here a little bit. Jeremiah 18, verses 1 through 6. We got to understand what these vessels are that are made for destruction. The word which came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Arise and go down to the potter's house, and there I will cause thee to hear my words. Then I went down to the potter's house, and behold, he wrought work on the wheels, and the vessels that he made of clay was marred in the hand of the potter. They were aberrant. They were flawed. They were damaged. Are you all with me?
Yeah.
So he made it again. That was the first one that he made. The elder son, Esau, Cain. That was what? Marred. But then again, he made it again another vessel, as seemed good to the potter to make it. That second son is Jacob, Abel. And then after Abel was killed, what? Seth,
Seth.
Sheth, Set. All right? Very important. Man, I'm telling you, they are brilliant now. See,
That's 18. What verse is that? Chapter is that?
that's Jeremiah 18, 1 through 6.
Right, okay.
Then the word of the Lord came to me, saying, O house of Israel, can I not do with you as this potter? Saith the Lord, behold, as the clay is in the potter's hand, so are ye in my hand. Romans 9, 21 through 29. Again, asks the same question, but goes into more detail. Hath not the potter power over the clay, of the same lump, not a different lump, in my image, after my likeness, of the same lump, to make one vessel unto honor, that is the seed of the woman, and another unto dishonor, that is the seed of the serpent. That's what Jacob did. That's what Jacob did. That's what Enki, Ea did. That's what Khanum, as we will see in the Egyptian allegory, did. What if God, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction? Those vessels are the sons of sin, or the sons of perdition, or the seed of the serpent. This is explaining our history. What if he endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted for destruction? Good news is their time is about up. It is up. Even us, whom he hath called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles. Key point here. Key point here. See, we talked about all this mixing, and that it's not about skin color. It's not about taking a DNA test or tracing your lineage through the Bible like it's an accurate historical document. We just read it's an allegory. which things are an allegory. So you have to know the symbols of the allegory to do what? Determine or intuitively distinguish between the seed of the serpent and the seed of the woman. It got mixed up. They intermingled the seed. We're going to understand that the seed looked like it was mixed together, but it was partly iron and partly what? Miry clay. All of this fits together. As he saith also in OC, I will call them my people, which were not my people, and her beloved, which was not beloved. Can't go by skin color. You have to be
Now,
able
'cause
to
it
go
go by skin color, you're gonna misconstrue what has happened in terms of Jacob. You saw Jacob, you know, in the scripture, the way they played Jacob in the writing, the narrative, that Jacob was the one that was positive and the one that was heir. But at the same time, we know now that Jacob was the one that was vilified and made to be, which was the serpent seed. You see what I'm saying? So,
right.
and you know, you can't go by skin. You talk about red and garment white, and then you talk about plain man and all that. You certainly can't go by, by that.
You have to understand and trace. If you're going to trace them through history, you got to trace them through their behavior.
Yeah.
Esau is going to be a wanderer with a sword.
Yeah.
That is the recessive behavior.
With the
Recessive
sword.
behavior. And you can't go by just the name Israel or Hebrew.
No.
You have to be able to discern this, Nasi, intuitively. You have to know how to pull down revelatory knowledge.
Yeah.
Not depend on someone else. Pull it down for yourself.
Yeah, because it say all Israel is not Israel, right?
Correct.
No, you can't do it.
And it shall come to pass in that place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living God. Esaias or Isaiah also cried concerning Israel, though the number of the children of Israel be what? As the sand of the sea, what? A remnant shall be saved.
Yeah.
See, we tried to, in the past, determine this remnant. And now, see, it's been problematic.
Very problematic. Yeah.
For he will finish, now, this is key, he will finish the work and cut it short in righteousness, because a short work will the Lord make upon the earth. We are involved in that process right now of the short work being done.
At this very moment.
At
Right.
this very moment in the KNOW.
Yeah.
And as Esaias or Isaiah said before, except the Lord of Sabaoth had left us a seed. Nazar, that's the word Lord of hosts. we had been as Sodom, and we been made like unto Gomorrah. And that Sodom and Gomorrah gives us a reference and a hint of the recessive behavior. When we look at that story, That is the recessive behavior. Men with men, men with women, brothers sleeping with their sisters, fathers
Book of
sleeping with
Romans,
their
first
daughters,
chapter.
mothers sleeping with their sons. Are you on all this type of aberrant behavior?
Romans, the first chapter.
Typifies the aberrant seed.
Yeah.
So with that, we want to allow that to germinate. We all need to sleep on this. If there are questions, ask them to yourself. And I guarantee you, we got to start doing this. Once we see the fruit, the full fruit, and we're in possession of it, we must act on it now. KNOW. When the fruit is brought forth, this is Mark 4:29. When the fruit is brought forth. Now, it's okay that Nasik brings it forth. That's happened before, Abba. And you brought this. So my response was to do what? Act on it.
Yeah.
And it what? Unfolds for me and expand.
Hey.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's exactly how it is.
So we must act on it. That means immediately putting the sickle in. That's how this works, family. So we need to go back over this, meditate on it, allow it to germinate, allow it to die as we go to sleep. And then just try it. See if more revelations, it does not expand on what it is that you heard. And then we're going to come back and we're going to go back over this particular lesson, Finding Eber, the Wandering Hebrew. And what I want you to do, that when you do it, you're going to find out that it's going to be more clarity over things that you have heard before. Not just this lesson, but everything. As you examine it now, see, it becomes decoded. It becomes much clearer. It becomes much more plain.
The idea becomes expansive, or it expands, and that's how you know you're moving away from duality toward wholeness, because it's expanding and it's becoming more clear.
Absolutely. So we're all involved in this process. So, I'm just encouraging everyone to do your part. This is the time. This is the due season for this to happen, but we must begin to act. We must begin to act. We must get that confidence and start to build that confidence that everyone can do this. This is really, now see, it's special to us because we're reconnecting with it. And we're not saying that it's not special, meaning that it's not genuine. It is genuine, but this is just the basic. This is nothing.
Right.
This is just the beginning. And we're saying it's not special because we can all do it and we all should be doing it. So with that, I'm going to end